But Leah is here tonight, and she's going to give a presentation on tea. Her knowledge and personal experiences in growing and harvesting leaves from the Camellia sinensis plant and other tasty leaves for teas. She will go over the diverse growing situations for each plant, as well as the various methods of processing the leaves for desirable teas. I have a background that allows me to travel all over the world. And one of my experiences was in Taiwan, where I went to tea plantations up there. In Taiwan, they have a very special tea called oolong cha. And the oolong cha has a very, very interesting processing technique. And it was truly amazing. And I'm not sure whether Leah will talk on that, but it's fantastic. And of course, the tea itself is very, very special. Leah manages her family business, the Laguna Hills Nursery in Santa Ana, California. Her grandparents started the business in Lake Forest in the 1970s. The store specializes in a large variety of edible fruits, shrubs, herbs, and veggies, as well as ornamental trees and shrubs. They're known for their permanent potting soils and a wealth of knowledge in growing plants for Southern California. Let's welcome Leah to our meeting tonight. Thanks, Leah.
I have this one. Hello, can you hear me? Okay. Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share with everyone my tea knowledge. I have been experimenting and growing lots of different teas. Of course, being in the nursery business helps out a lot because I have a lot of connections, so I can find all the teas that I'm looking for. And there's online too. You can find a lot of things online. So yes, it is tea time. My name is Leah Beattie, and I don't know if anyone's been to our Santa Ana off Tustin Avenue called Laguna Hills Nursery. And it's confusing because of the name, but we are now in Santa Ana. A little closer. How's that? Like this? Okay. Oh, it's kind of falling. Let's see. Okay, how's that? Much better. Okay. Okay. So my passion and interest for growing tea plants really started at farmers markets when my parents and we closed down our old business in Lake Forest and we started doing farmers markets all over the place, like at the Grape Park and the Orange Homegrown, Mission Viejo. And it really started when customers were asking for certain types of plants and like, oh, how do you use this plant? Can I use it for tea? And people would be looking for certain teas that I've never heard of, like plants used for tea, like Nashia inaguensis. That one is Mujian tea, and I found one and I love it. One day we'll have that available at our store too. But I brought a large selections of some of the easier to grow teas that I've been experimenting with. And there was also another farmers market booth that I would go to every day because they had tea samples. They're called One Love Tea. And I believe they're still at some farmers markets now, but they had all sorts of blends of really good ones. I think my favorite was like the green coconut tea, and it had sweet coconut flakes and the green teas in there. And that was really delicious. Um, so ever since that, I would look at the back and be like, ooh, it has this in it and has that, and I can grow this, so I can grow my own tea. And then you know for sure when you're growing your own tea, like what's you've been spraying it with, what you've been adding to the soil. Sometimes if you buy a tea at the supermarket, you don't know exactly how it was processed or how it was made or grown. So it's a risk sometimes, but it's good to trust. um, yes, so I'll continue. So, history behind tea, it's gone back a long time, thousands of years. The Camellia sinensis is the original tea, green tea, but the way you process it makes black tea, oolong tea, matcha tea, all the different kinds, just depends on how you process the leaves and treat them. So they all come from one plant. And I did give out a handout that has the description of each tea and the process of how to make it. So there's a lot of different types of teas. Um, I don't know how people discovered how to use certain plants for teas, but some of them have that naturally, um, I guess, good aroma that draws you to them. Like, has anyone had fenugreek tea before or grown fenugreek seeds? Yeah, they're like maple syrup and they taste really good. I've tried to grow those before, but the birds harvest them first. So sometimes it's easier to just buy the seeds and you could try grow them, but you have to get a scarecrow. So for having teas, some people want to have more calming relaxation uh times, like at nighttime if you want to relax after a stressful day of work. These are some of the calming teas. And then there's or like rejuvenating, healing to make you feel better after a long day of work. And then the energizing teas that give you a little more stimulating results. And of course, caffeine helps too. Um, so I will be talking about some of my favorite ones, which are on this list. So chamomile, lavender, lemon balm, fennel seed, rose hips, ashwagandha, fenugreek. Oh, is that on there? Oh no. And then rooibos, decaffeinated green tea. You can decaffeinate your teas. Ginger, citrus, black tea, green tea, oolong tea, white tea, yerba mate, chai, mushroom, peppermint, licorice root. So those are just some examples of teas that we drink. This is the Camellia sinensis, the one that makes all the green tea, black teas, oolong teas, and it is a beautiful plant. This is a baby. And I took pictures of the one at my house is this one here, growing in the ground. And that one you can kind of tell it's in full sun for like about 4 hours, morning sun, but it does get pretty, it looks more bleached and the leaves are a little bit smaller than like this one is at my parents' house. And they grow it under filtered sun under a canopy. And that one, the leaves are bigger, kind of like that, more lush green and looks much healthier. But apparently, if you have more sun, it gives different like caffeination and flavors for the teas. And then, like when you want to make matcha tea, they shade it more because the stress produces more chlorophyll that gives the tea leaves a different flavor. It produces more amino acids. So kind of different flavors if you grow them in different sun situations. And they do make a lovely little flower. That's a large size, but it's a little bit larger than a quarter. So they're pretty small, but they're cute. And then they do make this little ball is their seed pod. And I haven't tried yet to grow them from seed because cuttings are much faster, maybe. But if anyone has ever grown it from seed, let me know because I'm interested. And oops, wrong way. So these are all different processes for processing tea from the same plant, the Camellia sinensis. And this one plant can make all these different things. So the white tea is the least processed type of tea. And apparently the least processed leaves have more antioxidants, but the less caffeine. And then the more you process it and expose the tea, break down the leaf cellular structure of the leaf by like squishing the leaves or rolling them and steaming them, that breaks it open so that when you do steep it, you get more caffeine from the leaves. And matcha tea, you drink the pure powder, so that is a lot of caffeine as well. Green tea, matcha, oolong, black tea, and pu'er tea. I don't know. I haven't tried that one yet. If anyone knows how to pronounce that, let me know. Pu'er. Okay. It sounds good. Um, so far I've only harvested and processed my own green tea and black tea, and they're very easy to do. Because I don't have a dehydrator or anything, I just use my oven and my steamer and stirred it with a stick. And I have I think I have it on here too. But the process that I use, I have the recipes on the handouts that I provided. So, oh yes, this is the comparisons on like the results you get from when you harvest certain ways. So I thought it was interesting, like, because like coffee beans are kind of the opposite way. Like the more you roast the beans, the less caffeine, because I guess you roast out the caffeine. But then with the tea leaves, it's different because the more you break down the leaf structure by roasting or steaming the teas, the more caffeine is released into the water that you drink. Um, so it's kind of confusing, but then like with the chart, kind of makes sense. Um, so like the white tea is least processed, but has more, where is it? Antioxidants and less caffeine. And then the black tea and the pu'er tea are the most processed ones where you squish the leaves and roll them and break down the cellular structure, and that provides more caffeine but less antioxidants. So yeah, if you want a lot of energy or if you want a lot of health, there's different ways you can process. So this is the recipe that I used for green tea. I have the website that I got it from, the Spruce Eats. Pretty simple. So the best way to harvest your tea is the tips of the branches, the first 2 and 3 most tender leaves. So that would be, well, this one's very small. So that would be like for matcha and white tea, the buds. But the very tips, like that, is what I would harvest off of each end to create the best teas, because the most tender leaves, I guess, have the most flavor. And then you take all what you have, and for green tea, you just let them sit indoors for a little bit to dry out for about an hour. And then I just got my steamer pot over the oven stove, and then I steamed them in there for about 20 seconds, stirred them around, and then right after that, I just placed them on a paper towel, dried them off, and then put them on just an oven pan in the oven for a low setting, like 250 degrees. And I just kind of stirred them around, shook them up every 5 minutes so that they would evenly roast and dry out. And then once they're like crispy enough to break down, I just kind of broke them into little shreds, tea shreds, like you see in loose leaf teas. And if you have a lot of loose leaf teas, you can make your own fun blends. And this is what I like to use for my teas. It's a mini strainer with a bee on it that sits on the cup, because I am a Beattie. And so this is my bee tea maker. And so you just put the loose tea leaves in the strainer and close it. And then you just set in the water and it steeps it out. So these are very handy. My mom got me this one. I think you can just get them online or Target. Another one, I bought these online, tea filters. So you can make your own loose leaf teas, give them away as gifts. And I brought some roselle samples. I'll be talking about roselle. Um, the calyxes are used for teas. So at the end of the class, if anyone wants to try out some roselle tea, you can grab a tea bag and fill it up. I had some for breakfast at work this morning and it's pretty good. It tastes like cranberries. Next is black tea. So this one I is the other one I did. So after instead of just letting them dry, I kind of squished them. I just got a paper towel and just like I don't know, you could take like a hammer or something and pound it or just squish them with your hands and like break down the leaves. So you're just squishing the cells so that they turn kind of like a black brownish color. It's not pretty looking like the green tea, but apparently it releases more caffeine. So if you want more energy, then black tea, squish a lot of the leaves. And then it's about the same process. You steam them and then put them in the oven or a dehydrator and dry them. And then oolong tea, I haven't tried making yet, but it sounds very delicious. The only difference between this one is more steps in that you're oxidating the leaves, creating more oxygen around by squishing down the leaf cellular structure. They roll them or they steam them again, um, like multiple times, and that ferments them longer. So there's so many different varieties of oolong tea and processes. I wasn't sure how to explain how to go over that, but they did. There's a really good website with all the different names and types of oolong teas. So if anyone wants to make their own, feel free. And then matcha tea, that's one of my favorites. I don't know why. I feel like it is more healthier and I get antioxidants and I love mixing it with coconut milk. It just makes me feel healthier than coffee. Sometimes I try to take a break from that. But this one, I haven't shaded my plant yet, but one day I will make my own matcha tea if I can figure out how to shade my plant. The reason that they shade the plants again is because it creates a different taste in the leaves when they're stressed. They want to produce more chlorophyll. And so the extra chlorophyll makes a different taste, a little bit smoother result. Um, and then the only difference is after you dry it, then you really grind it down into a powder so that it makes it so you're not like chewing on little flakes of leaves when you drink your tea. It's very fine, super fine. Um, yeah, so it has like a more smoother, richer taste than matcha. So this one we carry usually in the summertime. It is called roselle or hibiscus sabdorifa. And that one they call it Jamaica tea or red sorrel. You can eat the leaves. They taste kind of lemony sour. And this one, the calyx is what forms after the flower develops and dies. The calyx contains the seeds, but it's like a really thick, almost like a fruit texture. And so that is the part that is used for the hibiscus tea, which causes the water to turn red. And then it kind of has like a subtle cranberry flavor. And that's the one that I brought today. Um, when you steep them, it turns the water red. So it's kind of pretty and cool. And so I'll have those for samples to bring home. This one, it is an annual They don't like the cold at all, so it will die in the winter, but it does love the heat. So if you do want to grow it, make sure it's in full sun. Sometimes if you grow it in a pot, you can protect it from the cold in the winter and prolong its life. Move it closer to the house or inside at night to keep it warm, and then it'll just keep going. But usually after it flowers, it's easier to just save the seeds and regrow them the next year because they grow very, very fast. The next one is stevia. My 3-year-old son, this is one of the plants that he can identify already because he loves the leaves. He calls it sugar leaf. And he's always like asking, where's the sugar leaf? I need some. Um, so I always make sure to have this one growing at my house. So it looks, sometimes the leaves are really big and lush when it first grows. And then as they get longer and start to bloom, the leaves get smaller. So if you want to keep the leaves large, you can cut the tips off when you harvest to promote more bottom branching. And then that'll prevent it from flowering and keep the leaves larger. But they will eventually flower, and then after that, they usually die or die in the winter. And you can save the seeds, or you can also take cuttings from them as well. This one, like some people have told me, like you have to be careful if you have a lot of it because it could cause hormone imbalance, which some research has been finding. But I'm sure a few leaves here and there won't harm too much because they are delicious and they're a good substitute if you don't want to use real sugar. Chamomile, that's one of my favorites, but you do have to be careful because it's very invasive. And once it goes to seed and you let the seeds dry, they'll fly all over your yard and come up everywhere. So if you really love it and you want it, you can let that happen or contain it and cut the flowers before they are able to spread everywhere and you can harvest them for tea. This one is an annual, so it dies in the winter, but there's no problem if you have the flowers. You can just save the seeds and regrow them. Um, the more sun they get, the more flowers they'll create. So if you have like they could take shade, they just won't flower as often. But if you have probably 6 hours or more, that's ideal. And you can also eat the leaves. They taste like apples. They're very delicious. Some people use them in salads. So that one is a really fun one if you want for multi-purpose use. Yeah, chamomile. Also, it's a very good nighttime tea. That's what I drink at night to help calm and relax after a crazy day of work and babies. Lemon balm. This one's very delicious. It's almost like a lemon, but with a lot of sugar or no sourness added to it. It's very sweet, but it is in the mint family, so it can invade underground by roots. But it's very nice to have. It's kind of a little sensitive to too much sun or heat. So I have the most success growing it in filtered sun or like under uh, another tree. And that one is like a very calming, tasting, delicious herb that you can add, fresh or dried. And I brought a little plant if anyone wants to smell. You kind of have to squish and then smell, and it's very delicious. Another really fun one is the toothache plant, Spilanthes. This one, its flower is a little ball that if you eat it, it tingles your mouth. Kind of like a numbing sensation. And it kind of has like a little citrusy flavor. Um, so those are fun. I wish we had some flowers, but they're still pretty new, so there's no flowers yet. But I brought the plants. Um, the flowers, I've used them. You can use them fresh or dried. I usually just use them fresh and sprinkle them in the tea. So it's like a tingly, it's fun, a little tingly fun sensation. They do die down in the winter, but I have them coming up all over my yard. So I guess some seeds, they flew like chamomile. So they're probably invasive as chamomile if you let the seeds go and fly away. Um, they are most potent fresh, but they can be dried. And they would make a good hanging basket plant because they're kind of sprawling like a ground cover. Yeah, and they call them buzz buttons. That's pretty fun. Fun name. It's a good party plant if you want to impress your friends. Mint. Mint. The house that I moved into came with a mint lawn, so I'll never be able to get rid of it, but it is very invasive, but it's very delicious. That one my son likes too, so I leave it because he just picks the leaves and eats them when we go outside. There's a lot of different flavors of mint. There's like strawberry mint, pineapple mint, basil mint, hundreds of mints. But like the two main varieties are the peppermints, which have a more spicy flavor. So like I brought regular peppermint today and chocolate peppermint, and I brought them so you can smell them and kind of see the difference. And then the spearmints have more of a sweeter, cooler type flavor. And so usually like I brought the Moroccan mint, and then there's like the strawberry mint. Those are types of spearmints. And those you can use fresh or dried. They're said to aid in digestion, helps stimulate mental focus, cleanses breath, of course. So like whenever I'm cooking with a lot of garlic and I have really garlicky breath, sometimes I just go outside and eat the whole mint stem and all, and it really helps, I think, with that problem. Um, but like again, if you do grow mint, you have to be very careful not to let any stems touch the ground because they will root in and they will invade the whole world. And you can try to pull it out, but it'll come back by a little fragment. So be very careful. Another really delicious one, not only for teas, but I like to make lemonade out of it. Lavender lemonade is the lavender flowers. And those are the English lavender is the variety that you use for tea, the flowers. And they can be used fresh or dry. They're kind of like a mentally calming type plant. And they're perennials, but they are very sensitive to the soil that they're grown in. So we gave up at the nursery buying in any lavender plants from other growers and vendors because they just use too much wood around the roots, and they hate that. And after like 6 months to a year, if you put them in the ground in clay soil and that soil, then they just decline and start to die. But you can like if you do get some lavender plants, then you see they have some woody soil around the roots, then you can kind of shake off half of it and put it in more sandy soil. We just gave up and started growing our own so that they never do die. And we made our own potting soil, Gary's Best. That's my dad. And that is the pretty much only permanent potting soil that you can find bagged besides sand or pumice rock. Like a blend that's good for potting plants that are perennials that can go years in a pot or in the ground, and they won't cause root rot if you water them too much, like lavenders. And the camellia plant is very sensitive too. They don't like any wood around the roots. And we used to buy them in from a grower that would grow them in a 1 gallon pot. But since there was so much wood in them, they looked really bad. The tips would always be burnt looking. So we would bare root our plants and then fix them and put them in the top pot. but we noticed that it took a really long time for them to recover from that. They really don't like their roots to be messed with, so that kind of stresses them out a bit. So then these plants, we decided to also grow ourselves. So we just get in plugs and then we plant them in our soil so that they don't get brown tips. So that's the reason. And lavender, the more sun also, the more flowers it'll produce. So 6 or more hours of sun is perfect. So when you harvest your teas, there's all different methods. I just kind of put them in a strainer and leave them out, like kind of near a window so that they get some airflow. If it's like really humid, they might not dry as fast, or you can quickly do it in the oven on a low set them around so that they dry evenly. Um, the Whenever you harvest, like I said, with the stevia, if you pinch the tips off of your plants, that creates more growth down low so that it will be more bushy and compact and make more leaves instead of plucking off like just a single leaf, then the plant will keep growing, but it might start to get really leggy. So it's better to cut the tips, and plus that's where the most fresh growth is and the most flavorful. And then when you harvest flowers, the more flowers are used, like the roselle, you want to wait until the calyx is formed. And they get about the size of a quarter as well, maybe bigger, maybe 2/4 of 50 cent half-dollar coin. They can get pretty large depending on how you grow it. And then yeah, like fenugreek, fennel, you want to wait for the seeds to look dry before you harvest them, but then unfortunately sometimes the birds will harvest them for you. So you might have to protect them. Some people use the organza bags over to protect them from animals. You could do that. If you want to save certain seeds that you find animals are attacking, um, like a little, or like some people use pantyhose, little see-through cloth, so it's breathable and it doesn't create mold or anything. The reason for blanching or steaming is for acquiring different tastes and breaking down the leaf's cellular structure for different purposes. So like decaffeinating, you can decaffeinate any of your teas. Um, so you it's not like 100% though, so you don't know if you're getting all the caffeine out. But what you do is you boil them the first round for a very long time at a high heat, and then you pour out the water or you give it to someone who wants the caffeine. And then the second time you steep your leaves, there won't be as much caffeine, but it is not easy to tell. Like if you got all of it, you might get a little bit of caffeine, but it won't be as much as the first batch that you discarded. And like I said, I did mine and I have a steamer just like that, where you put the water at the bottom and then have the steam come up through it. Or you could do other ways. Maybe just put them in pure water and boil them. That could be a way. And then drying, you can hang dry. You just want to make sure that it's not like a rainy day or misty day like it was today, because they might not dry as well. They might start to mold. So like in this weather, it might be safer to dry them out in like the oven where you know for sure it's gonna crisp up nicely. And then here's different methods of steeping. So that was my little infuser ball. And then the tea bags, or you can just use a strainer. And the reason for that is if you have multiple types of leaves, like you have lavender, chamomile, and you want to combine them all together and make your own recipes, then you can mix them and match and then have tea. And it's time for tea. Any questions? Yes. I did, yeah, when I was steaming them, I left the leaves, I let the lid on for a little bit and then I would go in like every minute and every minute to 2 minutes and just give it a little stir so that they would evenly steam. I'm sure you could do both ways, open lid or close lid, but I did kind of half, close lid and then open and stir and then close it again. Oh, yes. Yeah, the question was if steaming to leave the lid open or close it. And I think you could do either way. Yes. Oh, okay. The avocado. Yeah, they have like a licorice flavor, I heard. Northrop. Okay. Oh, Northrop avocado tree. I need one. Yes. Neil? No, not yet. Not on tea. I have not presented on Gary's best videos yet, but maybe in the future. Yes. Oh, oh, yes. I do like lemon verbena and then also the lemongrass too. I didn't mention those, but they are really delicious. The lemon verbena, it does have like a really strong lemony flavor, but then I did read that it could make your skin photosensitive. So if you like, you might get a rash if you touch it and go in the sun. So I wasn't sure if maybe drinking too much of that could be safe. Maybe lemongrass would be safer. Um, but then, yeah, lemon verbena is really delicious, and I've had it as tea before. Oh, tea with fig leaves, I have not tried yet myself or have done the research. Have you? Oh, okay. So you can make it, but you have, is it like fermented tea leaf? Okay. Use the straight leaves. Oh, that sounds delicious. Okay. I'll have to make some because I have hundreds of figs. Yes. Which one? Oh, oh yes, I do have the plants available. Not all of them, but I did bring a lot of tea herbs, so like the stevia, lemongrass, mint, um, to purchase if you'd like. We have the 4-inch cups for $5. And then the Camellia sinensis plant, I brought 1 gallons. Those are $20. And then how many of you drink bean tea every morning? Is coffee, yes. I also brought a different coffee. It's called Gesha coffee, and that one is this is a little seedling grown, but it's a different type of coffee that Brokaw Nursery has provided, and we are giving it a try. Yes. The oh, what kind of leaf? Oh, oh, a long leaf, a long leaf, half-inch wide. Is does it have a lemony flavor? Oh, I'm not too sure. Cardamom leaf? Okay, yeah, I don't think I have any. I'm not sure what that one could be. Yes. Right now, just the regular, this one I think is called the large leaf, Camellia sinensis. We've carried in the past one called tea breeze. But this one right now, we just have the large leaf Camellia variety. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I don't know. I haven't seen anyone use the seed pods for tea, so I'm not too sure if they do. But it's something that might be researched and possible, but they're very small. They're like a dime size, so I'm not too sure. Yeah. No, I'm growing seeds, but they haven't sprouted yet. We just started them, so hopefully at the store we'll have them in about a month or a month and a half. Yeah. Yes. Which one? Long gin? Dragon World tea. Is it a, oh, dragon leaf tea? Dragon World tea. I do not know. Is it Rooibos? Oh, okay. No, I don't know that one. Yeah. And any other questions? Yes. Uh-huh. Ooh. Um, it could be dehydrated peach fruit, because like I know for like the coconut, they just use the coconut meat and then it's just dried or dehydrated. So it could have just been the fruit dehydrated, but I'm not too sure that if the I don't think so. I don't think peach leaves. Oh, well, it's definitely best to do the research first to make sure they're not toxic. Um, because I know like the online will definitely tell you if like the leaves and the fruit are edible, like the roselle plant, the calyx and the leaves are edible and the flowers, but I think peach leaves are toxic, so I wouldn't try that. Just the fruit and dehydrate the fruit for that flavor. Uh-huh. I think the peach pit is also toxic. Yeah. So yeah, always look it up online or ask someone before experimenting with the other parts of trees. I haven't tried it yet, but they do make big leaves, loquat leaves, so that would be a lot of tea. Yes. Damiana. Have I tried Damiana? Is there another name for that? D- Does anyone know what Damiana is? I'm not too sure. I don't think I know. There is the Passiflora incarnata, and the part that they use, I believe it's the fruit rind. Um, that I can't remember, but I know I've grown it before because I wanted to use and it could be the leaves. Um, but that's like a certain variety of passion flower. I don't think all passion flower leaves are edible, but there's certain ones. So the incarnata is usually the ones that they use for the tea. Yeah.
Leah, we have some Zoom questions.
Oh,
Let me go through those.
okay. Oh,
Yeah, well, yeah. So any further tips on growing Camellia sinensis plants beyond what you already said?
oh yes. So definitely if you start with a plant, make sure it's a healthy one, start it in good soil. So we grow these 1 gallons, and they have a good start. But if you can't find them or you're not close to our store, if you get a 1 gallon, you can fix the soil. My recommendation is taking off at least 50% on one side of the root of the old soil and then leave the other half so that it still has a lot of roots, and just refresh the better soil onto that side and let it grow for like 6 months before you remove soil again from the opposite side. And always cut back the plant if you're going to fix or mess with the roots so that it doesn't go into shock. The plant itself can get pretty large. Mine is about almost 5 foot tall, 3 foot wide. And I haven't harvested it much yet because when I planted it in the ground, we had a heat wave right after and it crispied it, it fried it, and it took a while for it to come back. But if you do want to grow your tree like in shade or sun, just make sure you acclimate it very well. If it was growing in shade, acclimated to the sun so that it doesn't burn. They do, I think, look a lot better in filtered sun, not full direct sun like mine that gets like 4 or 5 hours of morning sun is a little too much, but it's still happy. It grows a lot. It just, the leaves are smaller and they look a little more bleached, but maybe that'll give it a different caffeine or antioxidant uh, effect.
Nancy B has a 3 foot potted, very full Camellia sinensis that you helped her nurture the past 3 years. I don't know if that sounds familiar. This will be her first year harvesting leaves. How much can she pick?
When I pick my leaves, I pick every single tip off that is available. So if it's really bushy, she can cut every single tip off, and that will just promote more growth on the inside. So, yay! I'm glad Nancy's plant is happy.
Well, Teresa's the next question. She bought one 2 weeks ago and put them in a larger pot. And the leaves started to turn to look burnt, but the new leaves are dark green. It's in 6 to 8 hours of full sun, but wondering what caused them to become burnt. I don't know if she bought it from you or another nursery.
Yeah, depends. Like sometimes if it is in a lot of sun, any wood around the roots could break down faster and cause rot. Um, or maybe it was just growing in more shade at the nursery and putting it in sun stressed it out and could have caused the burns. So just give it a lot more water, keep it moist so that it can recover. But then make sure that if it has any wood around the roots, she could take out a little portion around it and put in sand or pumice rock or peat moss, just so that it can breathe.
And then lastly, when making a cup of tea from fresh picked leaves, she says just boil about 3 or 4 leaves, question mark.
Oh, no. The first time I made tea, I harvested maybe like 10 tips. Those like 30 leaves off of multiple plants. So you do have to be patient. If you just have one plant, they grow maybe 2 to 3 feet a year. They're kind of slow, but so you do want to wait a little bit for them. Like this, you could harvest maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 tips, which would be like 12 leaves, and maybe get a good 2 cups of tea. It won't be as strong as if you had more, but I'm sure like even if you had 3 leaves, you could make a little bit of tea. But yeah, you might wait until your plant is like 2 foot tall and wide to start harvesting the tips so that it can grow and have more photosynthesis for growing faster.
And then Nancy says she's going to be visiting the nursery for soil, and she'd like to have one of your handouts when she comes to visit. So,
Okay, I have it saved, so I'll print more out for the store.
okay, great.
Yeah. Question? We get our cuttings and plug liners through Florist Source, and they have different vendors from all around. I think it's mostly like Florida that they're shipped from. Um, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Yes. Ooh, fermented tea leaf salad. Oh, fermented tea leaf salad dressing. I'll have to try that too. Yes. Oh, yes. He'll love that. Oh, then my plants are gonna disappear if he does that. Yeah. Yes, so she recommended for my 3-year-old son when he goes outside to pick a chocolate mint and a stevia leaf and eat them together, and it's like an Andes candy. So I'm gonna do that. We could do that now. Yeah. Oh yes, the camellias, they do like acidic soil. So our top pot or any soil that has peat moss in it provides the acidity. Our top pot is 5.5, 5.5 to 6 acidity, which they like. You can also like adding any organic fertilizer, like fruit tree fertilizer or all-purpose fertilizer will give it more acidity over time, as well as coffee grounds. They're not as potent, but they will eventually acidify the soil. What I do with my plants is I give them some just powdered sulfur a little bit each at the beginning of the year to help acidify the soil. Uh-huh. Yes. Uh-huh. Naturally decaffeinating tea. Uh, right. Yeah. So the plants, I guess, yeah, naturally decaffeinated means it never had caffeine in the first place. Yeah. Yes. Um, that's a good question. There, I, yeah, I'm not too sure. Um, tea naturally processed in the USA. If anyone knows, let us know. I just grow my own now. Yes. Charleston, North Carolina. Okay. Okay, so yes, North Carolina, Charleston tea. Oh, South Carolina. Oh, okay, thank you. Yes, that's good. Okay. Um, Now I'm trying to grow my own, but for Christmas, my husband did buy me a tea set and matcha green tea powder from Habit Tea. It's a couple that lives in Canada, and we follow them on YouTube. We watch their videos, and they started their own tea company, and we love them a lot. We love watching them. So he like as a surprise bought their tea for me, and it came with like a little mixer and then a tea stovetop boiler, and then the matcha cans, and you just make your own. So Habit Tea, I highly recommend. Yes. White tea I haven't done much research on, but because they only harvest the buds and the very little tiny leaves, you need a lot to make tea, so I'm sure that would be very expensive. Yes. The first flush of leaves. Okay, yeah, so that's why it would be expensive because there's not that much. Anything else?
See Elizabeth Lasani on Zoom makes a couple comments. One, she mentions Nuccio's Nursery as a place to get any camellias. And I recommend people visit because they've announced they're going to shut down. The next
Oh.
generation doesn't want to take over the business, and the brothers who are running it are getting up there in age, and it's a great place to go visit in Altadena.
Oh, I think
Nuccio's Nursery. Yeah, they're more, yeah, they're a camellia breeder and grower.
I've been there. You took me there. Yeah, my dad took me there.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
beautiful.
beautiful setting right in the foothills.
Yeah.
And she also mentions suggesting oak leaves as a great mulch for camellias and azaleas.
Oh, I haven't tried that myself,
Okay,
but I think mulch,
you have an oak.
yes, is very handy because it keeps down the weeds and keeps the water in. So I like mulch a lot.
No more questions? Oh, we still
One
got
more?
some.
Does the oak leaf acidify the soil?
She doesn't say, but I don't really know the answer to that. Probably not significantly because it's going to be on the surface and it's pretty difficult to acidify natural soils.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. We'll have to research. Okay, well, thank you everyone for having me, and thank you.